Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Today, our guest is Steven. Steven, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Qasim. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, Steven, let us know where you live and what you do.
Yeah, so I live in Austin, Texas, and I guess I would be an entrepreneur of sorts. I have a number of consumer product brands myself that kind of all wrap up into kind of a family office of product development company that I've established as well.
Awesome. So, as a founder, there's a possibility that you might be wearing a lot of hats because this is the beauty of an entrepreneur. So can you guide us?
Sure.
What are your core responsibilities?
Yeah, so I definitely wear a lot of hats, and each business seems to have different hats. I think that's probably one of the most beautiful things about what I do. And so in some businesses, I'm focused, I'm the CEO and I'm running all data activities focused on strategic vision and, finances, and in that as well, a lot of production. I spend a lot of time overseas. I speak Chinese, so, I deal directly with product development every single day. And that kind of is the overarching hat that I wear across all my businesses, is that product development first is what I work with, but also in another one of my businesses, I'm also kind of head of operations. So it really kind of changes form depending on what I'm doing.
So, Steven, let's try to understand about your business more. So, what are your differentiators? What is that sets you apart from the market?
Yeah, I would say probably just, I'll talk about our product development business and product and brands. And I would say really that, we are extremely experienced product creators. And all of us ourselves have created our own products. We've launched thousands of products amongst the team. My business partner and head of innovation, Neil McQueen, is really just one of the most brilliant product minds I've ever met. From that perspective, we are working end to end. We don't just first, the group was basically working on my own brands for myself. And once I thought the caliber of our work was at the level that I wanted, then I kind of opened it up. So we work with brands, not just helping with product development, but we really get involved in the entire brand itself, starting with helping them think through the products, concepting, developing the products, but then quickly understanding how that fits into the market. And I'm helping them craft that message and how it presents itself in the marketplace. And then, of course, we kind of round it up with financial support as well. So we're not just a typical product development company, but we really get involved with brands. And that's what we want to be known for.
Makes sense. So many experienced entrepreneurs suggest that you should start from one product and then eventually work on other products. So at this point, you do have a lot of products at this point. Is it okay to manage a lot of products? Because I believe there will be a lot of focus shift as well, because especially when you are more concerned about the innovation as well, because innovation is something that keeps driving the things. So in this state, how difficult it is to manage a lot of products?
Well, I think you have to be very methodical about it. And it all depends on really you as an entrepreneur. And, I think your overall grit and your ability to kind of focus and execute quickly on specific items. So I would say if you're first starting out and you're new to this world, definitely focus. Pick a product, focus on that product, own that product, nail that product. That would be my main advice. In my sense, I've been doing this a long time. So I've been creating products for the better part of 20 years. And I think from that case, having launched really and being a part of launching thousands of products, not only with myself, but with others as well, I've kind of developed some of this tried and true methodology to how to launch a product. And so that enables me really to work on multiple products simultaneously, where in most cases you would start out just focused on one product. So I think as long as you're making sure that you're giving the attention that's necessary to the products that you're involved with and not skipping out on them, if, we're, not spending as much time on one versus the other, because we do launch our own products at products and brands as well. We want to showcase that we are creators, right, at our core. That's definitely part of our fundamental vision here. And I think, as long as you make sure that you are giving the adequate amount of focus to each, and if you're not moving that to the bottom of the list so that you can kind of manage that. So I would definitely say if you're starting out, start with one. If you're more experienced, come up with a methodology that allows your focus to disseminate across the product range with ample amount of focus.
Yeah, this completely makes sense. But how you pop up with the innovation? Because again, this is still a little bit confusing for me when you have a lot of products and you want to be innovative as well. So in this case, isn't it a big challenge to stay innovative?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big challenge to stay innovative. I think some people have, some of an innate product vision, right? Where they can look at a problem and they think product wise, right? And they think about what they need to craft around that product. I wouldn't say that I have this like amazing gift, but the one thing that I think about, I always put it on with a product lens. So, right, I have one brand called Pickle Tile, which creates the most sophisticated soundproof fencing system in pickleball, right? And everyone says, like, how did you come up with that? It's like so random. Like, how did you think about that, right? Well, we first focused on Airbnbs and, with Airbnb, and then we then decided like, hey, we want to do more with Airbnbs. What makes Airbnbs work well? And we noticed that pickleball courts make Airbnbs work well. And then we focused on the pickleball court. And we noticed that the sound was a major issue. So like, I think breaking down the component of the product itself and the category you're going after and really trying to understand the good and the bad that's out there, positive, negative reviews are people what they do most, but maybe even taking a step back and looking at the macro lens about the bigger issues that face the challenges within the industry or that product category. And then really focusing your time on shortlisting. I think that shortlisting ultimately frees up and understands where you can strike with a product, right? Then kind of bringing in all the review aspect of the feature sets and things that people signal with, what you can search online and through Helium 10 or anything else that's out there, right? Then I think it allows you to kind of focus in on that. If you're not a product person, you're going to strike out when trying to think about products, right? So I think it's know your skill set and go grab the person that you need to balance you out in order to really grow and bring the innovation out of you.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So you're still wearing a lot of hats, but like when you guys are thinking about the innovations or the innovative part, obviously you explained it pretty well. Like there's a complete chain. You just have to keep thinking about the things to the next step. But do you rely for these sort of things on your team, or you keep these things at your side? Because there's a possibility that if you are relying on the team, there can be a lot of brains, 10, 20 brains maybe produce something else, but one brain may have something else. So how this process works?
Yeah, I think, for product and brands, I've kind of first started out on my own and then we linked up with, my amazing co-founders. And, I think from the perspective of, how we think about it and who on the team does what, I think what we're trying to do really is we see all different people come up with great ideas. And I guess it's the way that it's facilitated, right? So there's a specific methodology that I think about when I'm launching products, and each person on the team, I think, offers a different perspective in order to aid that cycle. And so I think it's about making sure that you have enough time in the room with the right people at the table that allow you to bring that vision to life, right? And that's what we really promote at Product and Brands is, hey, there's a methodology for thinking through product ideas. So start with it, think about how it affects the global market. Then let's go more acutely until we understand kind of all the details out of it. And then, of course, it's testing, right? It's testing what other people think of your idea. So I think, it's always good to have, it depends how you ideate, but in some sense, like have multiple ideas going at one time and then kind of narrow that list down to understand like what's really hitting. And then once you understand what's hitting, then you can, put your focus on that, right? So it's kind of just like in your world where the funnel is most important, right? So it's really kind of working that product funnel all the way down to what's most effective.
Finally found someone who have processes in place for at least for ideation. Like I have met many entrepreneurs who do have good ideas, they generate good ideas, they work on innovative things, but they do not have a complete process for the ideation. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think I actually, I learned that with working, with my business partner Neil McQueen for a long time, and just kind of see him. But I think now in this new life, we're at Product and Brands, we're doing a lot more. We're not just sourcing and product development, manufacturing. Like I said, we really get into the brand itself and really use our full resources to grow the brand. And that's what's important to us, that we work with a limited amount of people that really want us to focus on their brand and then allow us to bring it through. So we kind of cultivate that same principle that we have internally with the brands that we work with. And I think that's really key to help them really grow. And we've seen some amazing outputs. And what we've seen also is like brands that have started with one product, but have quickly shifted into an array of products. And really, it's a beautiful thing, I think, once you see it come to life so quickly, because then you start seeing the ideation between ideas rapid, right? And much quicker. That's what we always want to see is maybe the first one, it's kind of the foundational piece. And then we get it so quickly and we're working so well with brand and team, et cetera, that it just really is rapid growth.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Awesome. Well, Steven, in the field of entrepreneurship, there are challenges, a lot of challenges. In fact, every day there's a new challenge, and many companies just shut down. They just burn out just because of the challenges, because they are not able to face those challenges. So obviously, everybody faces challenge, and I'm sure you must have faced many challenges. So, can you share one interesting challenge, or the biggest one challenge that you have ever faced? If you can share with us, and if you can share how you were able to cope up, this will be a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's hitting home with everybody lately is tariffs, right? I think that's maybe the biggest challenge that I faced this year, right? And it wasn't the tariff that was the challenge. There's a lot of ways to rework things and a lot of different freight options that you can choose from DDP to F, right? There's different ways to kind of balance that out. But I think the challenge was with the shipping carriers, that all of a sudden overnight the shipping carriers took the credit away, right? So all of a sudden you're seeing, my business, which was steady and really not very eventful, overnight, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of credit was taken away from us from the shipping side. So, within a period of 30 days, we had to solve that challenge, right? And I think, in any challenge, I think, the best thing to do is kind of take a step back, list out all what you're facing, right? And then know like how to stack rank and execute those challenges. And I think that's really a big thing from our perspective on what we had to deal with the tariffs, is really to stack rank, execute, and then determine what the next best options were.
Makes sense. That's awesome. Awesome. So, Simon, every business do have needs of marketing. So, every business do marketing obviously for their sales and for branding as well. But like there are different types of sales, different types of marketing, online marketing, offline marketing, mix and merge of marketing. So, how you are doing the marketing?
Each business does something a little bit different. At Product and Brands, we are simply referral based.
Mm-hmm.
We want the work that we're doing and the brands that we're helping to showcase themselves, right? And that's been the great thing about, I think, Product and Brands is having, it's really nice when you don't have to do any marketing. On the other hand, I have other businesses that have really excelled. Early on, we made really great investments in SEO. In SEO, really, we started owning the category. So if you search anything local and pickleball with one of my brands, you'll see that we are the only ones that come up, right? For sports construction or soundproof mitigation or things like that. So, it all depends on the type of business that you're in. My pet brand, we do a ton of outbound email, right? Like tons and tons of outbound email. So I think it all really, really depends. I think one of the beautiful things about it now is that AI agents have made things really easy, right? So I wouldn't say setting them up is easy. That's oftentimes challenging. But once they're set up and they're implemented correctly, marketing seems that at least can come in and start working when you're not thinking about it. And so I think it really depends on the market, whether you're direct consumer or B2B, what you focus on. When B2B businesses, we like to focus a lot more on email and SEO and those types of things versus, direct consumer, we do a lot of paid advertising, right? And PPC. So really, I think it depends on, where you see the lead flows coming in, but I'm often just breaking it down by where's your customer, where they're thinking about you, how are they interacting with you? Those simple questions, I'm just trying to, take it from 0 to 1, in my opinion, really helps reveal what the strategy should be.
Yeah, this makes sense. In fact, these strategies helps you get more organic traffic, which have no comparison at all, at least with the paid marketing. Awesome. Well, so other than that, every company do have their short-term and long-term goals. So what about you? What you are looking for maybe in next 4 to 6 months?
Yeah, each business, Product and Brand specifically, our goal was just to build a foundation of clients so that we could launch our own products, right? Again, I keep reiterating that, I want the people that I work with to understand that we are in this as well with them, right? Like they can see everything that I'm doing from a strategy perspective, pending the type of product it is, right? And so the way that we think about long-term growth is, hey, get our foundational customers, get set doing incredible work so that we, everybody's eating, right? And then after that is a question of really growth mindset, which for us, it's about launching brands and developing brands. And I think we all kind of went through the age of the aggregator, right? Where the Amazon aggregator took storm, right? And they just started buying up all these businesses left and right. And I think, watching go through that, what I learned from that is one is it's really hard to buy somebody else's business and really cultivate it and make it your own. Right. But, what we think at Product and Brands is like, we want to do it within. And so we started with my own brands that we service and help out. And then we go to launch our own products and our own brands. Right. So, long-term vision for me is to start getting, one or two new brands onto the shelf per year for me, along with servicing our clients in just really a high quality fashion.
Great. Well, so at the end, Steven, what would be your biggest piece of advice for other entrepreneurs who are already struggling in the market, or the one who are dreaming to be their own boss?
Yeah, I met you, and my first brand I developed right out of college, right? And I remember calling my brother for the first time. I was a tax accountant by trade, and I was sitting in my tax office, and was not seeing the light of day at all, right? It was tax season. I had to be at my desk at 6 a.m. I'd leave at 8:30 p.m. I'd get off at night, and I'd work on my businesses until like 3 a.m, and then I'd start the process over again. So I was sleeping like 4 hours a night. So my advice to any entrepreneur is really about grit. Right? You can have a decent idea, but have a lot of grit and be an incredible CEO, be an incredible founder, and you can get that product and that idea forward and be successful, right? If you have an incredible idea and those things all considered are the same, right? Everything the same, where you're an amazing founder and you have a lot of grit, you're really going to have huge growth. So I always tell people is like, I can give you a lot of advice about breaking down a business and how to think about a market or how to analyze a market or all these different aspects of things. But ultimately, it's just about working harder than the next guy, right? Because at night, when I'm grinding at night, 1, 2 in the morning, and I'm pushing forward, somebody else is sleeping, right? And like, that's my mindset to my entire team is don't be complacent, have a lot of grit, push forward. And ultimately, of course, all the business tactics, things that you need to do fundamentally need to be sound. But if you have that grit, that's something that they can't take away from you. So my advice is keep going. Don't give up.
Awesome. That's a great advice. But after this advice, there's one thing, random thing, in fact, wandering in my mind. What do you say? Like, if someone starts a business with the product that is already available in the market,
Mhm.
but they don't have any, you can say, considerable differentiator, but what they do is they start price war. So, do you think
Mhm.
that's okay for the market, or this is something that is going to disappoint you in the long run?
Yeah, I mean, it's a race to the end if you're trying to battle the price game, right? My grandfather was the largest tool importer in the world for over 40 years in America. And, they didn't even have the regulations when he started importing tools. He literally went over to Japan, after, the major wars and started importing tools, surplus tools. And really, that was his game. He was a low cost tool guy, and he did extremely well. Built an international business, the likes I probably will never see. But I think the one thing that I took away from him is in the '90s, he basically auctioned his business off to craftsman tools because there was essentially nothing left, right? Because he was playing that game. And instead, one thing that I've taken to heart from learning from that situation is that I really want my products to be unique in the marketplace. I don't want them to have me too products. I don't want to be on the shelf next to everybody and say it's because of my size or my value or whatever, right? That's a hard game to play. And especially now in the Amazon world where somebody can, if I see something on Amazon, I could come out with it in a week, right? Like no problem. So I think the perspective of creating something that's going to last and be unique in the marketplace. If you are going after the idea that you're going to be custom product, where you're going to take a product and enhance the feature set, really try to think beyond the feature set, not just go to one feature set, but maybe think about 2 or 3 or 4 that you can bundle together that can really showcase yourself beyond what somebody else is going to do, not just go change a zipper color, right? Or a zipper quality, right? So that would be my advice is kind of look at it holistically, but look at more of a market mover from a product perspective and enhance multiple features instead of just 1 or 2.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Steven. I learned a lot of things out of this podcast today. Like even 1 second was not full of. In fact, every second was full of insights. Awesome. So, Steven, at the end, can you please let our viewers know how they can reach you? You can share your website or the social media handles, whatever you want to.
Yeah. You can go to productandbrands.com, product and then the word and brands.com. And check me out, and love to talk with each of you that are looking to really grow your brands and do something special. That's really what we're all about here.
Awesome. Well, Simon, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I really enjoyed this conversation, and hopefully we will stay in touch.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me today.
Thank you, Simon. Bye-bye.